Welcome, everyone, and we appreciate your patience today. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Compliance and Amendments Committee for the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on Tuesday, August 10th. The meeting is now called to order. Mr. Rustin, would you read the roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Member Washburn?
Here.
Washburn present. Member Nee?
Here.
Nee present. Member Snyder? Snyder excused. Member Wolf?
Here.
Wolf present. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Could you read the first item on the agenda, please?
The first item is the approval of the March 3rd, 2010 meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
I just have a couple of very small edits that I'll give to you afterwards. Yes?
Yeah, I have some edits as well. None of them substantive. I will pass them along.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to?
I believe motion seconded already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment on the minutes from March 3rd, 2010. Seeing none, Mr. Rustin, would you call
Yes,
for the
Madam Chair.
vote?
Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Wolf?
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Washburn?
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, we have 3 ayes.
Would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
The next item is the approval of March 9, 2010 meeting minutes.
Moved. So moved. Second. Oh,
Again, I have, do you have, Member Nee?
yeah, I'd like, actually, I'd like, even though I've seconded, I'd like this to be continued. There is, on page 11 of the packet, under item number 4, the second paragraph, it says there is nothing, the issues Mr. Crossman presented had been visited before, comma, she said. There is no reference to who she is, and that needs to be fixed. So I would like to see this continued to next month.
Without objection. Public comment on the minutes for March 9th, 2010? Seeing none, this matter is continued to the next meeting. Would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 3 is approval of the July 13, 2010 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Chair, again, I would like to request continuance on this, particularly, first of all, there are errors throughout that need fixing. Second, there is one on page, packet page 17. The second paragraph down, that sentence is totally unclear the way it's written, and it needs to be reworked. And it does make a difference in substance.
Right, I noticed the same, I have the same problem flagged.
So I would like to see that continued, and I'd like to see the sentence rewritten. Perhaps Mr. Rustman could go back, listen to a recording, or look at his own notes and fix that sentence. But as it is, the sentence is unclear.
Madam Chair, is that the sentence that ends with employee?
No. It's on page 17, second paragraph. To Member Snyder, Lieutenant Riley said he had not done anything since the most recent order of determination was issued. Expect to appear before the committee as directed.
Should be except EXAPD.
So it's a typo?
Typo.
Member Nee, are your other,
The other fixes I don't think are substantive, and I will pass them along. We can then pass it with the expectation that the fixes will be made.
okay. Do I hear a motion then to?
I believe there's already been a motion and you seconded.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we decided to continue it. Is there any public comment on the minutes from the meeting of July 13th? Seeing none, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Wolf?
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Washburn.
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, we have 3 ayes.
Would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 4 is hearing on the status of the May 25, 2010 order of determination in Nick Pasquale versus the Department of Technology.
All right. The complainant will now have 5 minutes to bring us up to date on what's happened with his case.
Good evening, members of the task force. I have a number of questions, I'm afraid, more than anything else, which might have been more properly answered by the deputy city attorney, but I don't see any here. I'm reading from the order of determination. Nick Pasquale, complainant, alleges that he made an immediate disclosure request to Kenny Cada at the Bay Area Video Coalition for all contracts, grantee bids, responses to requests for proposals, and all other records of communication between the city and persons or entities seeking contracts, and that as of April 5, 2010, he had received no response. The order of determination, and it says facts and findings findings of fact and conclusions of law. This is, of course, your determination, your order of determination. Based on the testimony and evidence presented, the task force finds that BAVAC violated the ordinance. BAVAC has yet to supply me with any of these documents. This is the problem I have with the way this matter is being handled by BAVAC. So on the face of it, they are, as far as I'm concerned, still in violation of your order. So again, it's very simple. I've read to you what I requested.
Mm-hmm.
They have not provided me with what I requested from them to me. I don't know how to summarize it any more simply than that. At some point, you're going to be, I believe the order to appear here also had invited the Department of Technology, and actually, again, referring back to your order of determination, June 14, 2010, complainant filed on April 5, 2010, complainant filed this Sunshine complaint against the Department of Technology, _, Bay Area Video Coalition, close quote. What I don't understand is the difference between the two as far as this task force is concerned. So obviously, it goes without saying the Department of Technology is a division of the City and County of San Francisco. BAVAC is a private nonprofit corporation, so and the ruling is against BAVAC. So it's my opinion, again, I'm repeating myself, that they're not in compliance based on the prima facie order that you issued. And I am confused about where the Department of Technology fits into this. The ruling on page 2, it says it's against BAVAC. The ruling doesn't say that it's against the Department of Technology. So I have, I guess I've got 2 parts. I've made my opinion known to you, and I'm asking you how the Department of Technology fits into this, how it is affected, and or again, what I read here is that you have not ordered the Department of Technology to produce documents. You've ordered BAVAC to do that. BAVAC has not done that. I think it's that simple. How much time do I have left?
Mr. Rustin?
Madam Chair, 34 seconds.
I'm sorry?
34 seconds.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's relevant to this tonight's proceeding, but in addition to what I originally requested, I may in the future make additional requests for documents. So it would help me in approaching those decisions, those requests, to get this clarified today, if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone here, any other person with facts and evidence to present on behalf of the complainant? Okay, seeing none, the respondent has 5 minutes to present their side of the case.
Thank you. My name's Chrisana Hodges, and I'm here for BAVAC. We also have a representative from BAVAC here if you have questions about some of the specific records. I understand that somebody from the Department of Technology was here earlier, but had to leave. We're here to address the complaint. I believe it's complaint number 13 that Mr. Pasquarelli submitted because BAVAC did not respond quickly enough to his request for documents about the contract between BAVAC and the city. The documents that he asked for, the contract between BAVAC and the city, the request for proposals and the related bids, actually the original request was for any kinds of documents with any other party. BAVAC, of course, would only have the ones between BAVAC and the city. All of those documents were, when this request was made, and still are available on the department's website. At the time that we had our last hearing, I think we spent a lot of time and energy focused on whose responsibility it was to provide those documents to Mr. Pasquarelli. But I think since then, the question has been, does he have the documents? Immediately after the hearing, Mr. Pasquarelli worked with the Department of Technology and received everything that he asked for. They printed all of the documents off the website and mailed them to him. We at BAVAC didn't receive any requests for these contracts. I specifically asked Mr. Pasquarelli if he needed anything from me, if he wanted those contracts, and he said no. And there was no other communication after this. I understand that there was a question of promptness that was at issue in the complaint before and in the order. But I think when it comes to disclosure in the documents, they're all there. Now, Mr. Pasquarelli was just very focused on whether or not BAVAC gave him those documents physically, and I think that's a little bit of gamesmanship because the Department of Technology gave him those documents, and we had that conversation all together. So I don't think it is of concern to the task force whose printer they came from. And I think what's of concern is that there is no pending request for documents, and there wasn't one after that hearing. Now, Mr. Pasquarelli has said that he may have other requests, and I think he has other complaints pending before this task force, which we'll deal with in due time. And the merits of those complaints aren't at issue here, and the substance of those complaints have nothing to do with the documents that were requested in Complaint 13, and so I'm not going to get into them now. But to the extent that there were any documents requested in Complaint 13, those documents have been provided, long since provided. In fact, Mr. Pasquarelli is holding one of them in his hand. And we haven't received any other requests for those contracts with the city. And so we have no outstanding action item on this to report on. All has been resolved from BAVAC's point of view. If the task force has any questions for us or for the records on that, we direct you to the department for the actual transaction reports. And I'm sorry that they're no longer here. But I expect that Mr. Pasquarelli could also verify what he's received from them. So I believe that that should close the whatever subject matter might be relevant under complaint 13. That's all I have for you guys.
Thank you. Is there, at this time, is there anyone else to present facts and evidence in support of the respondent? Okay, seeing none, the matter is now with the task force. Member Nee?
Yeah. Mr. Pasquarello, please approach the microphone. Okay, you just heard Ms. Hodges say that two things. Number one, the requested documents were and are still available on a website. Number two, the Department of Technology gave you the documents that you had requested from BAVAC. Are there still documents that that you requested that you do not have? Now, you said earlier BAVAC has yet to provide any documents, but according to Ms. Hodges, the documents you requested were provided to you by the Department of Technology. So where do we stand here?
Well, I'm very concerned that BAVAC has done all it can to deny that you have any jurisdiction in this matter whatsoever. In fact, if you look back to the original hearing, we had 2 hearings. You'll see that...
Okay, but you're not answering my
Well,
question. Really, the documents is
Yeah.
what we're after here. Do you have the documents that
I
you,
did not
that you
get the
requested?
documents per your order from BAVAC.
I'm sorry?
I did not get the documents per your order. They have not met your order. I have
Regardless
the
of-
documents, but they weren't from BAVAC.
Well,
And your order called for BAVAC. I'm sorry to be contentious in this way, but BAVAC, your order called. I'm very concerned that BAVAC is operating as much as it can in open defiance of this task force. All right? They don't respect your right to ask for documents from them. Okay? They have the contract with San Francisco, the city and county, and you're a body of that agency. That's my major concern. I do have the documents from the Department of Technology, but BAVAC did not provide them, and BAVAC is doing everything it can to sidetrack your order. Okay? They did nothing to help me get the documents from the Department of Technology. This is my concern. Also, I do want to raise a serious objection to any contention that pointing somebody at a website, which is a fulfillment of a public records request. I have grave concern that does not constitute a compliance with public records law. Websites are of every imaginable and many unimaginable designs. There is no logic to them. They do not constitute providing the public with documents. I mean, a contract such as, your order of determination, here it is on a piece of paper, okay? You mailed this to me, I could get a copy of it. There's no question I have the document. When it comes to the website, it's a can of worms, it's a herring, it's a red herring, and I hope and pray you don't respect such an apparent subterfuge as a compliance with public records. Hope I've answered your question.
thank you. Ms. Hodges? Couple of things. First of all, you've just heard Mr. Pasquarello say he has the documents, but not from BAVAC. How did he get the documents from the Department of Technology? Was this at your behest? Did you go to the Department of Technology and say, listen, could you help us provide these documents to the requester, to Mr. Pasquarello?
Well, I think one of the oddities of this complaint is that all of these documents had actually were available when we were discussing the substance of this complaint. So time here becomes a little quirky. It wasn't that we received
I'm asking you about how something occurred. I'm asking you what was the process there.
It's BAVAC's contract with the Department of Technology requires it to work closely with the department in making information available. Generally, we do our reporting to the Department of Technology. We provide information for them that they distribute through a variety of their channels. And as part of that, and I think as part of 12L's requirements, we see the Department of Technology as our main liaison when it comes to making information available and to the city as a whole, because that is our contracting body. Now, when we concluded our hearing some time ago, and a representative from the Department of Technology was sitting outside the hearing with me and Mr. Pasquarelli, and I was trying to ask him what documents he wanted from me, and he told me that he did not want any more documents from me. At this conversation, at the time, Mr. Frazier, I believe, from the Department of Technology, was there to receive these requests and made himself available to Mr. Pasquarelli, and I believe that Mr. Pasquarelli has asked him for lots of other documents since then, and asked him for documents beyond the scope of his complaint, as he would in the ordinary course of business. I don't have those records. The Department of Technology would have those records, but I understand that they physically printed out all of the documents from the website and mailed them to him. We never. It never even occurred to me that that someone would actually want us to do that as well, for the mere fact of doing it, when in the course of that meeting we were clear that Mr. Pasquarelli had everything he needed and had no outstanding requests. Now he's very focused on the fact that those documents were printed by the city. I think that's only coming up here. I haven't heard from him at all since then for these contracts or these documents. Have I answered your question? I'm trying to.
Well, I'm still a little bit murky here.
Perhaps I misunderstood.
Let me ask you the question as I believe I originally phrased it. Did you contact the Department of Technology and cause the documents to cause the Department of Technology to deliver the documents that Mr. Pasquarello had requested? Did you go to the Department of Technology and say, Mr. Pasquarello wants document X, Y, Z, and double Z going forward from April 5th, 2010. He wants these from us. Can you make sure that his request is met? Did you do that?
We had a conversation where the three of us met together, and I don't think it would be fair for me to say that I turned to the representative from the Department of Technology and specifically directed him to satisfy Mr. Pasquarelli's request. I think instead we were trying as a group to figure out how he was going to get those documents. And it was our understanding that the department might even have other documents, because he was asking for things even beyond what we had. So I don't mean to duck your question. I just don't want to overstate my role in directing the department and its actions. I think it was responding by virtue of its
Okay, what I think I hear you saying is, that the result of these three-way meetings was that Mr. Pasquarello got the documents he had requested. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And specifically told me that he did not want them from me.
Who did?
Mr. Pasquarelli. I asked him if he had any documents, if he needed anything from me. I may have been frustrated when I said it, and he said absolutely not, that he was going to work with the city.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything?
Ms. Hodges, can you
Yeah,
hold on for a second?
absolutely.
My concern here is that the complaint was made at a particular point in time,
Yes.
okay? And that's what how the order of determination came to be. Task force, in its wisdom, felt that you were at fault and that you didn't comply based upon prior to when the complaint was made, that you didn't comply. In the spirit of gamemanship, you can't shift the onus onto the city or Mr. Pasquarello when you need to be compliant under 12L and work directly with members of the public that make these requests. So
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Well, I know, but you have made inferences and actually directly said that, that these documents are contained in Department of Technology, that you consider Department of Technology to be your liaison, can't under 12L.
Well, no, in fact, BAVAC, we have them here, has a box of the 12L documents. These were not the 12L financial disclosure documents. These were separate contracts and requests for proposals that are outside the scope
I
of
understand
12L.
that, but don't you understand when you have a contract with the city, okay, you essentially become an extension of the city, and you have
We have a
an
responsibility,
obligation
absolutely.
to provide these documents to members of the public or anybody that asks for them that
Absolutely,
pertain.
yeah.
Okay, so
A certain document, I mean, it's not everything that BAVAC has, it's the documents
that's what I'm
called for,
saying.
right?
Only
Yeah,
the
yeah,
documents that
absolutely.
apply to the contract that you are providing services for, which is what Mr. Pasquarello was asking for, correct?
Well, no, his request originally was for all documents related to the city's contracting process. The city, I understand, received several different bids from other different bidders. It was broader than what
I
BAVAC
understand.
had.
I don't want to go, there's no need to go into details, okay? We're talking about what is, okay? The documents that are available to him, okay? That's what we're talking about. So I don't want you to, feel or think that you can pass this responsibility onto somebody else when it is your responsibility. And the order of determination is specifically for untimely response, okay? And I think it was pretty clear that there wasn't a timely response to this prior to the complaint being made. We're not talking about what happens after. We're not
Right.
talking about the day that you show up, whether you have the documents or not.
But what we're talking about now is reporting back as to whether or not the complaint has been resolved. And
Well,
and
not-
that's why I'm trying to, I'm not sure what you're asking, what you need.
Well,
from
I'm a
us
little
here.
disturbed by the comments that you've made, because you seem to want to skirt around the responsibility of providing those documents yourself. And the fact that he got them from the Department of Technology, maybe Mr. Pasquarello or any other member of the public wants to compare them to documents that you might have in your possession, and they have rights to do that. Sometimes things happen, and they want to make sure that there's some correlation or some corroboration. They want the two documents so they can tell that maybe something was different and maybe something got changed by accident, or maybe some paperwork got lost or something that somebody may or may not have. So that is why we have transparency. So we have the ability for those checks and balances.
Absolutely. But we also have 12L to give us very specific direction on what a nonprofit's
I understand that,
obligation
but the
is.
question is when Mr. Pasquarello asked you for those documents, did you have those documents? And were you required under 12L to provide them?
When, well, that was the complaint under Complaint 13. And this task force came to a determination on that complaint that I disagreed with at the time, but I don't think that matters, because the point here is that the task force said that Mr. Pasquarello had a right to those documents and should receive them. And at the time of the hearing, he already had most of them, if not all of them. And when I asked him what more he needed, he told me he did not require anything else from me at that time. And he did then go on to receive those documents and more documents from the city, making no additional requests. I don't think that you can call BAVAC's deference to the Department of Technology, its contracting party, as...
But you're missing the point.
Somehow
Again, you're
wrong.
trying to put the onus back on Department of Technology. What documents do you have? Even if they're duplicate, have you provided them to him? Now, I will ask him in a moment whether other questions with regards to that. But if you can ask me, do you have those documents?
What I have is the PDFs that were printed and handed to Mr. Pasquarello that are downloaded from the website. That's what I have.
You don't
If-
have the original documents.
I believe that the originals are kept with the city,
You
but I would defer to
copies
the
of the
Department of
copies of the
Technology.
original documents. When you see here, the thing is, you go into a contractual relationship. Okay, the original documents get stored with the city. You get a copy. Do you have copies of those in your files? Not just finding them on the
We have a-
website
we have
is
a
unless you put
PDF
them up
scan.
unless you put them up on the website on your own website, so that they were scanned originally by you and put up on the website. I'm trying to create the delineation here. Okay, there are two parties involved, not one party.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't think there's any allegation that there's somehow two contracts. BAVAC, the Department of Technology.
It doesn't matter. The
have a
point. It doesn't matter. The
unified
point.
sense of what the execution version
Ms.
is.
Hodges, the point is that each party has a copy of something. There's an original and there's a copy. And if a member of the public is asking one party for the documents, it doesn't necessarily mean that some other party should provide it to them. It should mean that the party that's being asked, that's why the complaint is there. The complaint is against you, against BAVAC. It's not against the Department of Technology in this particular moment.
Well, actually, I think originally it was against both. But I hear you that if
But the
and Mr.
task force
Pasquarelli
didn't
wanted
find
to
against
compare
Department
them.
of Technology. They found against you. So-
And I respect the task force conclusion, and you
Be
know,
it as it may, I still go back to my question. Do you have the documents in question in your possession?
I do not know that BAVAC has documents separate from the ones that the city produced. I don't know the answer.
So
to that.
so BAVAC came here to City Hall, signed a document, and left without a copy of that contract.
I do not know that it brought a paper copy back with it at that time. I have no information one way or the other.
Okay.
But I think that what we're missing here is that these issues have not been raised, that there was no request for a separate copy. There was a request for the documents.
Right.
There was no complaint
But
that
but the complaint is against
allegate-
you providing it. Did
Mm-hmm.
you provide it? Now, we'll get to Mr. Pasquarello and what he got and what he didn't, but you have to
printer
know your
paper that this
responsibility.
came from
Ms.
was not
Hodges,
BAVAC's
wait,
printer
don't
paper.
interrupt me, okay? You have to know your responsibility under 12Ls to provide the documents. If you don't have them in your possession, you go get them so that you can get it to them. But it doesn't mean redirecting a person to somewhere else unless you absolutely don't have them in your possession and there's no way you're going to be able to get them. It's a responsibility every employee, every department head, every custodian of records has.
As a nonprofit organization, BAVAC has a 12L packet of the information that it's required to collect and make available to the public
Okay.
under 12L. And it has those documents ready. We've got a box here. You're happy. We'd be delighted for somebody to care
Were
about
they
them
made
enough
available
look
to
at them.
Mr. Pasquarello?
Mr. Pasquarelli did not ask for those documents and has yet to ask for those documents. He asked for copies of things that are different from what's under 12L.
Okay.
Now, we had a lively discussion about whether they were included, but I don't think it matters because we wanted him to have those documents.
Okay.
And from what I understand, he got them.
Okay. Then let's get back to the untimely response. Okay. Did you feel that you were? Well, the task force found an untimely response anyway, so I'm not going to bring that up. Mr. Pasquarello, let me address Mr. Pasquarello for a moment.
Excuse me, I have to correct some things Chrisana Hodges told you. There was never any three-person meeting between herself, myself, and...
You didn't meet out in the hallway?
no, not the three of us, no.
Did you meet with Ms. Hodges?
I
out in
met
the
with
hallway?
Ms. Hodges after the May 25th ruling.
And
yeah.
what was the discussion there? Well, let me ask you, Ms. Pasquarello, did you get the documents that you wanted, whether it came from BAVAC or not? Did you get the documents
I got the
you wanted?
documents that I wanted.
Are they
Yes.
satisfactory to you?
Yes, as originally in my complaint against BAVAC, yes.
Okay. Because the question really becomes, if you were to make the complaint against the city as a whole to produce the documents, the question would be, did you get the documents?
Okay, but that's...
You started your conversation off as to whether this really applies to BAVAC or not.
Yes,
Okay, so the question really becomes, do you really want the documents, right?
yes.
Okay, so did you get all the documents you wanted?
Under this complaint, yes.
Okay. Is there any reason to believe that this order of determination has not been completed at this time?
Well, with all due respect, that the way I read, I just repeating what I said before, as it was issued, it has not been complied with.
Tell us what has not been complied with.
BAVAC has not provided me with the documents that you ordered BAVAC to provide to me.
And which documents specifically are those?
BAVAC has provided none of the documents in the original complaint. I can read you the complaint.
Do you have in your possession any of those documents?
I do, but they came from the Department of Technology.
Are they satisfactory to you at this time?
From the Department of Technology, yes.
Okay. So do you feel satisfied that you got the documents you wanted?
Yes.
Is there something more that you want from us?
Well, I would like to come back to this body with other requests in the future.
That's fine. We're talking about this particular order of determination.
But with all due respect, I am having trouble understanding your procedures. And I'm not a lawyer, but I can read pretty well.
Neither
I'm
am
a
I.
writer. I don't see how you can tell me they have complied with your order, because they haven't done what you ordered them to do. It's very simple. So this is a problem I have with the way you're proceeding with this.
If the documents, okay, let me stop there. I'll let one of my other colleagues speak.
Well, I think the matter is now at the task force, so we...
Well,
Member Need, do you have any more questions?
I have a question for Mr. Pasquarello. When did you receive the documents? The order of determination directs
Oh, boy.
that the BAVC provide you with the requested documents. The order of determination was issued and sent on June 14th. That gave BAVC 5 business days, meaning till June 21st, to provide the documents you had requested. When did you, whether it was from BAVC or the Department of Technology, wherever the documents came from, when did you receive them?
This is not easy to answer. They came...
Had you received them by June 21st?
I don't know. I received some of them, but I don't think I received all of them by June 20, by the deadline you put on here.
Okay.
They came in pieces. They came on 5 CDs. And by the way, I do want to clarify. What happened after your May 25th meeting was I met with Mr. Fraser in the hall here, and he agreed to provide me with the documents, okay? And in a series of CDs, which I suggested was the easiest way to convey these, as many as 5 CDs delivered over a period of weeks, not 5 business days. I eventually got everything that I asked of Mr. Fraser.
Okay.
So Mr. Fraser provided them, and
Thank you.
Payback did not.
Thank you.
Members, your thoughts?
I think at this time you need to give both sides 3 minutes to give concluding remarks.
Don't we want to discuss it, or we don't? Okay.
Respondent, not complainant, give 3 minutes each to
And
give
then-
concluding and rebutting remarks.
Okay, and then we can, okay.
Then we,
Okay, all right. At this time, the respondent has 3 minutes to give some concluding remarks.
Thank you. The issue of time has come up, and I think that to the extent the task force feels this is unresolved, the Department of Technology has very good records on this. And we were copied and notified to confirm that some of these things were sent out. And we can pull up these records, both me and the representative from BAVAC, Jen Gilliman, have our laptops here. So we can confirm some of these dates. I think that a matter of weeks after the hearing still under any calculation, would fall before the order finally came out in those 5-day periods. So I'm not sure that this is something the task force is going to pursue, but if there's a question about dates, we can answer it. More importantly, though, I think that it's BAVAC's position that it contracted with the Department of Technology and will work closely with the Department of Technology in satisfying its obligations to the city and to those who request documents, not in shifting that responsibility, but as part of its obligation under the contract and its responsibilities under 12L. So I just want to reiterate that in allowing the Department of Technology to be the party, the printer whose ink the CD may have come from the Department of Technology itself, this is not about shifting the responsibility. This is simply about focusing on the practicality of getting the documents delivered and doing that in conjunction with the Department of Technology, who I understand was very satisfied. We don't see this task force and the Department of Technology as being adversaries or separate parties. And in complying and working with the Department of Technology to satisfy someone's request, we intend to do that as part of our commitment to satisfying all of our responsibilities to the city. So I just want to be clear that in focusing on our connections with the Department of Technology, I don't mean to put those at odds with this task force. It's just the way we do business as a nonprofit and how we work to satisfy the contract. If the language of that hasn't fit, please allow me to clarify, because our goal here was to make sure that a task was accomplished, and I understand that it was. And no other requests were made for us related to that task, and so we had no reason to think otherwise. And if you have other questions related to dates, we may be able to answer those for you, but I leave that to you.
Okay, at
3 minutes.
right. Okay, I was just wondering if other people. Okay, the complainant now has 3 minutes to present closing remarks on this matter.
Well, again, just for the record, contrary to what Ms. Hodges told you, I have never told BAVAC not to send me any documents. I have never contravened my original request in your order for them to provide documents to me, so I don't know where that came from. I'm not sure there's really much else to add. For me, the issue is very simple, and I suppose your ruling today will help me understand how you work and what, if any, recourse I might get from you in the future. Just because your order is so clear, I think, and their non-compliance is so clear. I really don't know what else to say. This all started way back in December with a letter to Mr. Ikeda, and I'm not sure it's worth bringing that back into this, but there are still some documents that I don't have that are, this is getting a little off the subject, that are not a part of your order, but I probably will come back to you to get from BAVAC and the Department of Technology. Pardon my getting a little bit off the subject, but it does relate to your way of implementing your orders and interpreting your orders. And I'm at this point, even now, I'm somewhat confused as to whether one can take them literally, on the way they're, prima facie, right there as they're written. So I suppose your ruling will tell me a little more about this. I don't know there's much else I can add. Thanks for your help.
Thank you. The matter is now with the task force. Member Nee.
Yeah, I think, first of all, we don't really issue a ruling here. What we do is make a determination on whether the order of determination has been met, and if we find it is not, then we send it back to the full task force, possibly with a recommendation for referral to an enforcement authority. And I think that in this case, that would be appropriate. I think the real key here is that we heard Mr. Pasquarello say that by June 21st, which was 5 business days after the issuance of the order of determination, he had received some, but not all of the documents he had requested. So the order of determination was not met within the prescribed time. Whether it was, through the Department of Technology or directly from BAVC to Mr. Pasquarello, the order of determination was not met. Therefore, I move that we send this back to the task force with a recommendation that this be referred to the Ethics Commission for willful violation.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. I just wanted to say that there have been some interesting issues that have come up, and the most straightforward one being that we now understand that Mr. Pasquarello did not receive all the information he requested in the time frame that we ordered with our order of determination. And the other matter is more complicated, but the complainant asks, what do we do as a body with our, sort of plain English order of determination, which ordered the BAVAC to be the body to produce these documents. And it's very clear that that's what our order was. And Member Wolf raised the interesting point that we can't assume that the documents that BAVAC has are exactly the same as the documents the Department of Technology has. And so it does matter, who somebody asks, makes a request of, and who provides the records. And so Mr. Pasquarello was clear that he wanted records from BAVAC, and we were clear in our order of determination that that was the body to provide them to him. So that's another wrinkle in this. No, you can't. Remember? Okay. At this point in time, we'll hear from members of the public.
Members, Ray Hartz. I wanted to touch on several things that you have already mentioned. One, Member Wolf's issue relating to the specific request was to BAVAC, and it is very reasonable that you assume that both sides of the party in a public contract, the documents are all public records. And if they are available on the city's website from one party and they're not from the other, it is not unreasonable to ask specifically for the copies of the documents that the other party has so that you can do a direct comparison between the two to determine if there are any variations between the documents that are provided. I also hear some concern on Mr. Pasquarello's part that this is going to turn into a multi-episode thing where every time he asks for documents specifically from BAVAC, BAVAC will then go back and say, well, the last time you got those documents from DTI, go back to them, and try to ignore and dance around their obligation under their contractual agreements to provide the documents if they are requested by him from them. I do not think that it is reasonable to assume in any way, shape, manner, or form that a person who has concerns about a contract between the city and another party, it is unreasonable for that person to want to see both sides of that contract to ensure him or herself that what they're getting is the entire story, because we all know that legal contracts throughout history have always had variations that different parties had. and it isn't unreasonable for someone to want to respect that. It isn't also unreasonable for him to want to understand from you that if in the future he comes forward with a request to BAVAC, he won't have to deal with these same issues of it isn't us that has to give it to you, somebody else gave it to you. If he wants to be courteous and say, okay, DTI gave us this information, I'm satisfied with it, you didn't give it to me specifically, but I am willing to accept that, that's his choice. But it is not something he should be put in a position of having to accept.
Are there any other members of the public to speak on this issue? Excuse me, are you with BAVAC?
Yeah.
Then you aren't permitted to speak at this time. This is for
Oh.
members of the public who are not directly involved in the case.
Oh, okay. I mean, you had asked Christina, our lawyer, to respond and stuff, but I thought I had to wait basically till public comment to speak.
No, your opportunity was at the very beginning when I asked for people who had evidence in support of the respondent.
Okay, but yeah, several things have come up since then. I mean,
Well, this is not the time for that. I'm sorry.
okay, that's not helpful.
Yes, my name is Steve Zeltzer, and I agree with the recommendation that this be sent back to the main committee for action, because apparently BAVAC still hasn't got the message that they, as a contractual relationship with the city of San Francisco, have to provide the documentation. It's not the city's job, it's not the Department of Technology. And I wanted to further add that I'm very concerned about an attack on the commission and on Mr. Pasquinelli that was made at the Rules Committee of the Board of Supervisors, because at that meeting, Jennifer Gilliman actually said that he was not a member of the, not a producer at Community Access, and furthermore, that his, she was asked about the determination of the Sunshine Commission, and she basically degraded that and said that it really didn't matter, that they hadn't violated the ordinance of the Sunshine Commission. I find that extremely troubling. That the body here, BAVAC, which has signed a contract with the City of San Francisco, would say that the ruling of the Sunshine Committee is of no bearing on their relationship with the city in front of a Board of Supervisors ruling committee, or the Rules Committee. I think they haven't got the message yet that they have to follow the contract they've signed with the City of San Francisco. They get hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they need to provide the documentation. And I hope that they reach that conclusion rather quickly than later, because this thing goes on and on and on. And the sooner that they can provide documentation themselves and take the responsibility to do that, the less there'll be complaints about their compliance. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public to speak? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Rustin, would you call the vote?
On the motion, Member Nee.
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Washburn.
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, we have 3 ayes.
Mr. Rustin, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 5 is hearing on the status of the June 22nd, 2010 order of determination in Ray Hartz versus the Police Commission.
Mr. Hartz, you have 5 minutes.
Members of the Complaint Committee, we have gone through this this is like deja vu all over again regarding the adequacy of the listing on the index of records for the Police Commission in the cases regarding the Police Department and the City Attorney's Office. Again, my concern is about the substance of the posting that they have put on the record, and the fact that the ordinance says that it is to be used by members of the city, the public, etc., to be able to make specific requests for documents. Yes, I can go through those lists and find an accident report listing and say, well, if I want an accident report, yeah, it's probably under accident reports. I can go through others and say, oh, I guess this would be here or this would be there. The question is not what I can guess might be where. It is what is there that I cannot see. I know there is a long history of animosity between the San Francisco Police Department and the African American community of San Francisco. Has the Police Commission looked into that? Have they issued reports and determinations that are in their records that I could look at to determine the status of the relationship between those parties? I have read a 2003 report from the Office of Citizen Complaints to the Board of Supervisors regarding their investigations into the San Francisco Police Department and complaints of citizens against the department. I know for a fact that the Police Commission did receive copies of that report, and in that report it stated things like police officers were not allowed to come to the hearings to actually participate in the investigation. They showed up at the investigations armed, and in some cases actually physically threatened witnesses and even the investigating officers. What about Fajita Gate? That sort of disappeared into the netherworlds, and we probably settled it for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and yet we had San Francisco Police Department police officers taking property from citizens under the cover of color, and all of a sudden it has just gone away. Does the Police Commission, has the Police Commission looked into that? Have they issued a report? It is not the question of the documents that I can probably know they have and guess that they have. It's the lack of any ability I have or any other citizen of the city has to go into a specific matter and look for it. Now, the final issue of goodwill. It took 10 years from the 1999 passage of Sunshine for the police department to eventually even get what they have up on the record, and it took my complaints to this task force for them to do that. We go a year and a half, I go, look, they're gone. They go, oh, well, not our fault, city administrator, and yet they weren't there, although it was their responsibility to maintain it. So they don't have a very good record for being open. And the fact that they have a telephone number on the website where you can call it up is where all the problems started, because 3 years ago, as I mentioned in the earlier committee meeting, it was the complaint committee I brought to after 20 calls to the police department attempting to get public records, nothing more than police operating procedures, that brought me to the complaint committee because I received continual difficulty. And when you call them, because there is a dearth of information on the index, you cannot request specific documents, and as a result, they have the perfect liberty to start asking questions. Who are you? What do you want? Why do you want it? All the questions that Sunshine specifically says police employees, as well as any other city employee, are not permitted to ask. And if they decide you don't want it, even the number listed on the website with Ms. Conifrey, I have had people simply decide I'm not going to give it to you and hang up. Now, we can say, hey, they met the very, very minimum, but they had 10 years to comply. They didn't comply at all. They've had another almost 2 years now to get something decent. If I was a city agency and seriously wanted to comply, what I would have up there would be something that would be representative of a sincere effort to offer to the public an index of records that was meaningful and useful for the purpose that the Sunshine Ordinance says it is to be used.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance to offer facts and evidence in support of the complainant? Okay. Seeing none, the respondent has 5 minutes. The respondent left earlier. So is there any facts and evidence to support the respondent? Anyone here to support the respondent?
Hi, my name is Olga Ryerson. I'm with this Office of the City Administrator. I was notified of this hearing late yesterday. What I do want to say regarding, I just really want to give an update from our last meeting. I had mentioned at the last meeting that we are revising our guidelines that are going to be put out to all the departments so that they could revise their index of records. And as a result of the last meeting, we are going to include a paragraph in there asking, or a paragraph regarding the identification of documents. It would suggest to the departments not to use acronyms, not to use abbreviations in the naming of their documents, but if they do use such, that they should also spell out what the acronym means. And I am specifically right now, this is just a draft paragraph, but I am putting, for example, MOU, as that was brought up at the last hearing. Do not refer to it as MOU, refer to it as a memorandum of understanding. Further, we suggest that they provide a brief explanation of what it is. So it's a suggestion to the departments for their naming of the documents, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. We should hopefully, right now things are very, very tight at the office, and I'm hoping if all goes well that maybe next week I'll be able to send something out to all the departments, if not next week, hopefully within 2 weeks. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much.
No? Okay, thank you.
Members, any questions?
Yeah. Ms.
Member Nate.
Ms. Ryerson? I'm wondering if you have anything to say regarding the specific matter that is before us. You put out revised guidelines that you're sending to all departments, which is a good thing, I think. What I'm wondering is, since we issued the order of determination at the task force level, have you met with members of the police commission, the people who are responsible for setting up their index of records, for setting up what will go on the index of records, what those items will link to, what will actually be available to members of the public, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Have you had any dialogues with the staff of the police commission on how to remedy the specific complaint that's before us?
I have not had a conversation with the police commission.
And so you don't know if, since the meeting we had a month ago, you don't really know whether they've done any revision of their index or not?
I don't know. Although that was with the police department,
Right.
So no, I do not know
Okay.
if they have made any revisions. And I'm hoping that they really wait though until these guidelines come out though, because it may change what it is they're doing to their index of records. And so, I mean, I guess they could start. I mean, I would prefer that they not change their index of records just yet and wait for the guidelines. Otherwise, they're going to have to rework it again. But no, I haven't had conversations with them.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Member Wolf.
Don't leave yet.
Okay.
Do you have, from your office, do you prescribe a specific way that index of records should be posted on the website? Or is it up to each department to determine what the design is?
The Department of Technology set up the design 10 years ago, and that was set up then. The way the departments submit their information to us is the spreadsheet that I saw that each of you had at the last meeting. It's a spreadsheet that is sent out to, that the departments submit their information to us. That information then is uploaded by the Department of Technology onto the Index of Records website.
So you mean to each department's index of records
To each
website?
department's, absolutely.
So it's the responsibility of the Department of Technology to do that? Or-
Yes. The department I'm sort of the liaison between the departments and the Department of Technology.
Okay.
Yes.
So you actually know how all this is designed and works?
I do not know how it's designed. No, how the website is designed?
Well, I mean, part of this order of determination And it is basically, that's, well, I'm trying to query as to whether you have knowledge into whether the index of records is functional in a way so that the public has a way to access the records easily.
I truly believe it is. At the last hearing, what I tried to show the commission and members of the public here was how you could enter a word in there, a document name, memorandum of understanding, and you don't even have to know what department. Well, let me not pick that, because many departments would have a memorandum of understanding, but something's more specific to a department.
But it's not really about, like, searching for it. It's a matter of how it's presented, like, categorically, or by certain sections of maybe the code, or that's really the question here. To put up a search engine and offer nothing and say, well, you can search for whatever you want. Well, how is a person supposed to know what is there that they're supposed to be searching for? And that's that's what we're trying to solve here on the task force with regards to transparency, is that all records, at least the title and what it kind of applies to, is available for the public to see. So if you receive a list of documents, just the list of the titles of the document, not the true documents, and then you work it through whatever process or guidelines that you are creating for departments to be compliant. The point is that then made available to the public publicly. Can somebody go to a website and see the listing of all those titles in that kind of way?
Yes.
Much like, they could go to the library.
I printed out just for, because it was a police commission,
Sure.
so I printed out, police department, the index of records. So this is the index of records for the police department, and it lists the documents, contract compliance records, and the documents under that, general and
that's up
administrative
there
records,
now?
list of documents.
That's-
Yeah, I
it is?
printed this off today. And
Okay.
so list these documents, and then it lists personnel records, and then police commission records. And if you click on these records, it will then
links,
give you a link to a little bit more additional information.
Okay. Mr. Hartz, may I ask you a question, please? And so when you filed the complaint, was that what she just showed us? Was that available on their website?
Yes, but it has a website link. You click on that, and it says this site is no longer available.
So it was a
And
broken link.
And if you click on, if any of the city on that website, if you go to any of the web links, they click to this is no longer available. If
So-
you click on the individual items, all you get is a thing that says the same thing, retained on site for so long, retained off site for so long. That's it.
Okay. See, that's the crux of the...
I clicked on this link. I clicked on the link to get to here, and I got this without any problem.
Okay.
I
The
know
point-
that was mentioned last time, and if there is a broken link, we would love to know about it, and we'll fix it. But I didn't have any problem to get this today.
Okay. That's all I have
Yes.
right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Member Nee.
Yeah, Mr. Hart, please approach. Okay, we last met a month ago, and the order of determination actually was issued June 22nd. Between the last meeting of this committee, when we agreed to continue it, and today, has there been any change at all, positive or negative, in the Police Commission's index of records?
No,
No change.
no.
Thank you.
One thing I would like to mention from the order of determination, if you read it, it says that they should show up here and show how a person could use this link to do the research, which, of course,
Thank you, sir.
I move to refer, no? Oh, we're not right there yet. Okay, sorry.
Including remarks.
Right. Okay.
Respondent's not here, so it's just Ray.
All right. The complainant now has 3 minutes to make concluding remarks.
Believe me, none of this I do for grins and giggles. Any city agency that I went onto the index of records where I could go to their particular website and find the index of the records they kept in their responsibility, I said that is fine. I see no need for them to duplicate the effort. The only thing I would suggest to them was that if they have a link on the index of records, that link lead them to their individual website. And I did find a couple, I think like the public libraries, who would do that, but most of them do not. So as long as a agency is willing to be open about what they have and in such a way that the citizens of the city, if they want to get information about a particular subject, don't have to play guess and use a search engine. I can do that on the internet using the different search engines that are available and come up with 10 million things, sometimes not even including what I'm looking for specifically for the city. What I'm really concerned about is the fact that the police department in San Francisco, and by default the police commission in this case, seem to have an attitude that the public records they hold in their custody are theirs and theirs alone. And they want to maintain a level of control over them so that they are able to find out specifically who is asking about what, for the purpose of, one, denying it if they do not want them to see the information, or number two, making specious arguments that we don't have that information because they withhold from you their knowledge of how their filing system works. I would guarantee that if you took this index to any of the employees in the police or any of the police commissioners and said, try to find some of the documents you usually use using this index, they would not be able to do it. I would believe that they have an internal index where they can look up any and all documents they have, which is not given to the public in any way, shape, manner, or form. In fact, I would submit that they probably, because they need to look up these things all the time, have a very detailed index that all they would have to do is make a copy of it, delete any items that are not public information or they have a reason to withhold from the public for security or whatever, and could put that on the index and make this all available easily. But I do not believe that they have any intent of wanting to do that, and I do not believe that I believe that they showed that by failing for 10 years to even comply with the ordinance, and then for another year and a half, hem and haw and delay and delay and delay, and finally come up with this excuse. Again, you can hold the very, very minimum and say, well, they did something, and something is good enough. I don't think something is good enough.
All right, the matter is now with the task force. Member Nee?
Yeah. I wanted to mention a few things here. Number one, we heard Ms. Ryerson say that she was unaware of links that were no longer there, that were, I guess, dead or dormant. And I think that, first of all, her department is, the city administrator's office is not one of the respondents here. So I think that when a link is dead, I think it's up to the various and sundry departments to keep track of that, to monitor, to go into their indices of records and their websites, see what's up, see what's not up, see what needs to be fixed, and they need to do that constantly. And the fact that there are links, as Mr. Hartz has said, that aren't working, the fact that the police commission has not made any effort to make any reparations dealing with Mr. Hartz's complaint, I think those all point in rather severe terms to the police commission. In addition, the commission has not sent a representative knowledgeable to appear before the committee. The person was here earlier and then left, and apparently is not coming back. If he knew he was not going to be able to stay late, he should have found somebody else who could have come here and shown us what we wanted to see. The Commission's representative shall be prepared to demonstrate to the committee that the Commission's index of records enables members of the public to learn the types of information and documents maintained by and for the Commission per Ordinance Section 67.29. The Police Commission has failed to do that. Therefore, I move to refer this matter back to the task force with a finding of willful violation and a recommendation that this matter be referred to an agent, to an enforcing entity. I'm not sure ethics is the proper one here. It might be the Board of Supervisors, it might be the State Attorney General, but I think we can decide that at the task force. I think if we use the term an enforcing agency in our recommendation, we can decide on it then.
Do you have a second?
I will second it, but before I do that, I just want to say that I publicly want to apologize for my tardiness, because that also puts people, maybe they had some scheduling issues. Be it as it may, there isn't anyone here. I appreciate Ms. Ryerson being here, and that the Office of the Administrator, City Administrator, is that correct? Office of Administrator? Is actually active in this particular process. I do not expect that office to answer any questions on behalf of the respondent, because it's not their place to do that. They're doing what they're supposed to do and provide the guidelines so that that department and whoever is supposed to maintain it has a way to do that on a broad and comprehensive level, that all departments are doing it more or less in the same way, so that everybody has that opportunity to be able to find the documents that they need. That begs a whole nother question that obviously should probably come up in a different committee, which I won't bring up here. But I do want to give the opportunity. I mean, I will take some onus onto myself, having been late, and I would be interested, because we've never had this opportunity, to have a department come in and demonstrate to us exactly how it works. And I would like to give that opportunity, since we have it in front of us, to the Police Commission and or the department, whoever maintains it, Department of Technology on their behalf, or what have you, person who is knowledgeable and is prepared to demonstrate exactly how it works, and so that we can see in real life how that's supposed to operate. And it will help us help the city administrator also to determine whether it is sunshine enough, and maybe it needs to be more. So I'm wondering if maybe we can turn this into somewhat of a fact-finding and learning experience for everybody involved. And I'm wondering if that doesn't come to pass at the task force, then we move for willful.
So you are not seconding member Nays?
Maybe I'm asking for a modification of the motion, maybe making an amendment to it, if it's satisfactory. Whichever way the maker of the motion wants to go. If you want me to make a formal amendment, I'll be happy to do that.
Well, I could suggest some alternate wording.
Okay.
To refer this back to the task force, to provide another opportunity for the Police Commission to demonstrate that the Commission's index of records enables members of the public to learn the types of information and documents maintained by and for the Commission per Ordinance Section 67.29.
That's fine with me. I'm just saying it because they may have been here and may have been prepared.
And that if the Police Commission fails in that, if the Police Commission
Does not satisfy.
does not satisfy than to refer to an enforcing agency for willful violation.
That'll be our recommendation. That's part of the
That's-
motion.
That's the motion. That's a substitute motion.
I'll
Which-
second that.
Which, well, you made the alternate motion. I will accept.
Okay.
All right, so
Chris, do you have that? Okay.
yeah, well, this is an interesting way to handle this. I also wanted to publicly acknowledge the work that the city administrator's embarking on, and I would hope that you would send us drafts of what you come up with so that we could work together. But I felt really gratified that you had been listening to what transpired at our full task force meeting and understood some of the concerns we had. So, again, thank you very much. So, before we proceed, now's the time for public comment on the motion before us. Seeing none, Chris, would you call the roll?
On the motion, Member Nee.
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Washburn.
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Madam Chair, there are 3 ayes.
Would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 6 is developing recommendations for the proposed task force electronic document retention policy.
Members, I believe you were copied on my email request to have someone from the Office of Information and Technology to appear before us to discuss this matter, and I heard nothing back from him. So is this something we continue yet again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will, if it's helpful, because I have some regular contact with that department on various issues similar to what we're dealing with. If you want, I'll be more than happy to give them a nudge.
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Still take public comment on it.
Okay. I'd like to hear public comment on this matter. Okay, seeing none. The next item, please.
General public comment.
The next item is the administrative.
Point of order.
Oh,
This is about the time we should be taking general public comment.
yes, it is. I'm sorry. Now's the time for public comment on items not before us.
Members of the Compliance and Amendments Committee, Ray Hartz. I did want to get on the record as a total some things that I have brought up over the last couple of years regarding my original complaints against the police department and the police commission for failure to have anything on the index of records. The determinations were issued, and they were, even though the bylaws at the time specifically said that complaints should be sent to this committee, they were instead sent to EOT. Had they been handled appropriately, that might not have been a problem. However, they were continuously handled in inappropriate ways in violation of sunshine. In February of 2009, a meeting was called. I was never informed of the meeting as the complainant. There was not a quorum, and yet Sue Coffin, who was the chair at the time, took testimony from Lieutenant Riley regarding the things that they had done as a matter of the complaint. Then again in April, she held another meeting, no quorum, and it was an agendized item, that my complaint versus the police department, and she again took testimony from Lieutenant Riley regarding the matter, and I was not there to hear the testimony, nor to participate, nor to object. So the simple fact that is on 2 occasions in 2009, in February and April, and these are all on your website. They are listed as notes only. There was action taken on items before the task force and before the subcommittee without a quorum being present. And to this point, I have never seen anything determining that either of those determinations have been satisfied. I do not believe they have ever been brought before the entire task force. I do not believe they were ever voted on in the EOT. And as a result, I think they are still out there with no resolution. And I wanted that on the record for one simple matter, because I have brought these issues up as they occurred about not being notified. There was a discussion between Mr. Nee and Mr. Rustum about, was I notified? No, I wasn't. Why wasn't he? He should have been. And it's all been handled in a piecemeal. But that entire process was handled so egregiously. And having someone who is presenting herself as an expert constantly in sunshine to manage her committee in such a way that she violated sunshine in, I believe, flagrant ways, was totally inappropriate. And again, I would like to request from this committee that you work with the full task force to determine if those determinations, the original two against the police department and police commission, were in fact ever satisfied.
Thank you. Member Nee?
Mr. Hartz, you mentioned these were in 2009?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that is, I was not chair at that time. You might recall that you and Mr. Warfield brought to my attention a similar episode that took place on January 14th of this year. And it took me a little while to realize what had happened. Longer than it should have. That I will own. But once it was clear what had happened, I went back. I looked at the notes of that January 14th meeting, because that did occur under my stewardship as chair of the task force. I went back. I looked at the notes of that meeting, and it appeared from those notes that the Education Opportunities and Outreach Committee had indeed, Education Outreach and Training Committee had indeed violated the ordinance. At that point, I contacted Ms. Cawthon to ascertain, to get her take on whether those notes were an accurate reflection of that meeting. She eventually told me yes, they were. And at that point, I felt that I had no choice but to remove her from the chair of that committee, which I did. I regret having to take steps like that, but under the circumstances, I felt that that was the only appropriate action to take. The fact that you brought this to the attention of the task force, again, it's regrettable that that has to happen, but it's a good thing that you did it. So, thank you.
And if I could just make one final comment, it is one thing that I would like to share with you in the fact that I know that there have been times when I have lost my temper with you, but it is unfortunate that after a number of times of being handled in ways which were inappropriate and requesting someone to address those issues and having no one attempt to do that until that time, it has left me with some real concerns about whether or not my matters were being considered fairly and considered in an appropriate manner. And I wanted to put on the record here that was, and the fact that Ms. Cawthon was removed as chair as a result of her own behavior has never been made a public record until this moment.
Well, there I will disagree with you, Mr. Hartz. When I appointed a new chair of the EO&T committee, I did so with a notice to the entire task force and to the task force administrator and to the deputy city attorneys that are assigned to work with the task force. So it's very definitely public record. If it was not posted as public record, then perhaps it should have been, but believe me, it is public record, and it's not my intention to embarrass any single member of the task force, but when those actions are taken, obviously they are public record, yes. And I attempted to make sure that it was without really making it a broad public issue.
I stand corrected, but I would request a copy of the memo that went to the task force.
I will be glad to send it to you, sir.
So I just wanted to state on the same subject that, it's too bad that the general mainstream media don't pay attention to the task force as much as they do, let's say, the Board of Supervisors when one of them was removed as chair of a major committee of the Board of Supervisors. But in and of itself, the decision of the president of the board made his decision. It was a public decision, and, it's I could just say it's just too bad that we're not getting the same amount of press, which I wish we would. So with that, moving on.
To the next item on the agenda.
The next item is Administrator's Report. Madam Chair, I do not have anything to add.
All right, well, that brings us to the last item on the agenda.
Public comment on.
Oh, we just had public comment. Okay. Oh.
Public comment.
Public comment on the administrator's report.
Seeing none.
Seeing none,
Yep.
the last item on the agenda.
Last item, Madam Chair, is announcements, questions, and future agenda items from committee members.
Member
So
Wolf.
again, I just want to apologize for being late. It's very difficult at this time to get down from San Rafael on a regular workday, and I'm wondering if maybe in the future there's some possibility we can start a little later, because it takes about at this time of the day it could take up an hour and a half.
Okay, I was actually wondering the same thing myself earlier. So we have one member that's not here, but perhaps we could
We don't have to take it up today.
Right,
I
but
we've
it's
got a
certainly
month
something-
to-
Agenda.
put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned.